Okay, we're live. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Tackle Shop Live.
A sunny day, right there you took my breath away. Young and pretty, was it just a dream? The next day you called me up, you told me I'm your little buttercup. You came over and you fell into my arms.
Good evening, everybody.
Well, I know what I feel.
Wow, Scott Lockoff's in the house. JJ Outdoors, what's up, buddy? WB Jones coming up Monday. Hey, I'm looking forward to it, buddy. It's going to be great to see you. Galen Heathcote, how you doing, pal? Man, Dave Richardson's here. We got a nice group coming in. Charlie Esterly, what's up, buddy? James Brady. What up, Mark? How you doing? Nice to see you again stopping in the shop today. Appreciate you guys. Charlie Shamball, how are you, Charlie? John Pauls, how are you, John? Raymond Martin's in the house. Warren Cottrell, Jamie Johnson, Junior Bass Angler 12. What's up, brother? George DeFrame, man, I'll tell you what, George, how you doing, man? We were talking about you the other day. It was all good, bro. Man, we got a great show for you guys tonight. Mark Westner's here to see it. Kirk Blackader, how are you doing? Jerry Otto's here. David Schottelmeyer. Man, we got a great crew tonight. Wow. Sorry about last week, guys. We missed the show. We had a big old power outage here. We had wind. We had trees down. We had, oh, man, buckets and buckets and buckets of rain falling down, and it shut down all the power here in the area. We waited around until 7:30. We were going to do something out in the parking lot, but we didn't have good reception out there. I don't know what was going on, man. It was like terrible. We had storms like every day last week. It was ugly. So David Schottelmeyer's here. What's up, David? How you doing? Frank Garvey's in the house. Express Jack, what's going on with you, brother? And Kevin Carpenter, how are you, Kevin? Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, so we man, it was terrible. Missed a show. We didn't know what to do with ourselves. I don't know, man. George was scratching his head, and that's what's going on there. My name is Mike Acord. For all you guys that don't know, this is George Acord, and cameraman Nick is behind the camera, but not right now. He had to go make a beer run. We have a song for that we usually sing, but yeah, he stepped up to the plate and is taking care of that fine duty. Charlie Enoch, how are you doing, buddy? Yeah, baby. You're in South Dakota. Wow. Awesome, dude. Putting up your tree stands, I imagine. Yeah, that's awesome. Jeff Reed's in the house. How you doing, Jeff? But anyway, we got a great show for you tonight. We're going to kick it off with tackle talk here in just a minute. Weather finally broke. It's nice and cool out there. I hope everybody's been fishing. We've been dealing with some hot weather around here in the Northeast last week, man, in the hundreds and 108 indexes. It was crazy. But now the weather's broke. It's nice and cool. Fish are biting. Around here, we got some great smallmouth action going on, and the future looks bright for the Susquehanna River, my friends. The future looks bright. There's Nick right there. He's here, back in action. What's going on, Nick? I already told everybody that you're here. And you're running the camera tonight, so we're not going to have any snafus going on with me doing it.
Oh, no. I mean, you know what? You guys do a heck of a job, but I just do a little bit better. That's all.
That's right. That's why we love you, Nick. But yeah, the fishing's been great. But our river really looks bright for the future. There is 1 million fish in the river. There is everything from 4 inchers to all the way up through, but the number of 4-inch to, let's say, 12-inch is staggering, Nick. Staggering. There is 1 million fish in the river. So in 5 years from now, I mean, look out. Look out.
So what do you think? Why do you think all these fish are here now?
Well, I mean, we're seeing the results of some great spawning years. We're seeing the results of great water quality as far as for the fish. The what? Oh, football night in America. George is all jacked up about football.
George is now complete.
So, but the quality of the water's right. The quality of the river's right. The spawns for the last 3 years, you can see them like just plain as day, and they were spectacular. So it's really exciting to see, when you get these warm water conditions, these fish get really active and aggressive, and you can see all the different sizes, and everybody's catching them all. And it's, I like it because it's great for business, because, those little suckers come up and pull the tails off all the swim baits.
Well, I wanted to ask you that. Like, are you seeing, because there's a lot of fish,
Yeah.
are you seeing the size come down, or?
Well, I mean, yeah, if you fish a day, your average size is way down, but you're still catching 18s and 19s and 20s.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There's a lot of guys, there's a big kayak tournament coming to town August the 12th. And it's a really big tournament. There's going to be 150 kayaks on the river. So I've been talking to a lot of those guys the last week, and they're catching a lot of fish 20 inches. I mean, they're getting their 1, 2, 20 inchers a day, plus a couple of 18s and 19s, but they're also catching 45, 50 fish a day, in that smaller class. So it's fun fishing.
That's a good problem to have.
It's a lot of fun fishing, so, if you can figure out where the big ones are, of course, they're a little harder to catch, and they're hard to find, but when you find them and you figure that pattern out, you can catch them. You cover some water, you can hit those spots a little bit more regular, and you're going to start catching some nice fish, and they're catching them. I mean, they're getting a lot of 18s, 19s, and like I said, some 20s, and then you got the guys that come in with with bragging rights, 20. What do you got there, bro? Clickers.
I'm reminded when I hear these tales.
What? Tales. What, numbers? Like numbers of fish?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
What I got for the shop here is a clicker.
Is a clicker?
Yeah. I don't need any estimates. I don't need any. We got about 50. We got about. No, you got 8. Okay?
You got 8.
We don't want no double tapping.
Double tap.
Okay. So if you come in to visit us and you start running your mouth with some big numbers, bring an extra $5 with you, because you will be buying a clicker. Okay. And listen, the clicker doesn't lie.
Well, you're right about that, but you got to push the button. That's the whole thing. You got to be able to push the button. And
we zero it out at the end of the day, and we start all over again. All right, enough of that nonsense.
Well, just like everybody big eyes their fish, there's some people that might big eye their catch for the day. But the fact of the matter is, if you're saying 40, and you do the math on it, and you're at 30, that's still a great day of fishing. That's a real good day of fishing.
Mike, you don't big eye your fish, do you?
No, I'm right on it. I'm spot on acord, they call me, spot on.
I hear
acord.
about, it doesn't matter where you go, like each body of water has its size that is considered lunker for the season, and when it's hot in the summer, I don't care where you're at, your overall size is going to go down a little bit. So when I start hearing, for the river, all these guys catching, I caught 5 over 20 last week. No, you didn't. You absolutely did not catch 5 fish over 20.
Well, I mean, I know that
you might have caught
there's
one.
a lot of guys that there's a lot of guys that come in here. No, wait, I'm going to straighten you up on this. There's a lot of guys that come in here, and they're they know that people don't believe you, so they show you pictures. You know, they're like, look at this thing.
That's what I need. Photographic. And don't forget,
put it on the clicker. But no, these guys are catching legit fish, you know, out there. And so all I'm saying is the Susquehanna River's future is very, very promising. It would take something major for something to happen that in 5 years from now, we're not all screaming like this is the best river in the whole world, you know, for smallmouth fishing.
I'll be honest. I would encourage quite a few people who want to fish on the river. You know, we get calls literally every day from people from outside the area that want to come fish right now.
Yeah.
If you want to come and fish the river and catch a bunch of fish,
this is it right now.
Right now,
yeah.
Come on out and participate. It is great. There's a lot of fish biting. You're going to catch a lot of small fish. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
But you're not going to know they're small until you see them.
They pull,
or
like
unless you fish a lot for smallmouth, and you understand the difference between the tail shakes. You're not going to know they're small because they are incredibly strong. You're going to have a ball. Nobody's complaining right now.
No. And you know what's really cool about that, Nick? You know what tonight's show is on BFS, and a few weeks ago, I guess now maybe a month ago, I took out the rod designers from Shimano, and these were these guys from Japan that came over. They were going to ICAST, so they stopped here first, and they wanted to go catch some smallmouth. So I was able to take them out fishing. And when I showed up at the ramp, they start taking these little pack rods out, these little 4 and 5 piece pack rods that were like they had these numbers on them. Like, you know, it was all a prototype stuff, you know. And what was funny was they were real light rods. They were BFS style rods. They were and then they had these crazy reels on them, these crazy Shimanos from Japan only stuff, you know. So throughout the day we were fishing, and I asked a guy, hey, do you mind if I throw it around a little bit? And we had a little swim bait, you know, just a little bitty, I tied on a, it was actually almost too heavy for the rod. I tied on a mega bass head with the spinner on it, is
Akashira.
The Akashira screw head on there, and I put a little mega bass minnow on the back of it. And it was almost too heavy for the rod to throw it. You know, it really was. He had 5-pound test braid to some kind of real light leader. And the funny thing was, he was throwing this thing for about a half an hour and didn't catch anything. I pick it up in the first cast, boom, I catch one about 12 inches. I thought I had a 4-pounder on. Honestly, this thing was stripping drag. It was jumping out of the water. The rod was doubled over, you know, just that fast little tip that they're making now. It had great backbone. The thing was going absolutely crazy. I take the fish off and I'm like, man, that was so cool. I throw out again and pop another one. This next cast, I pop another one. The rod bends over, the drag slipping. It was really, really cool to fish that light rod, you know, in those situations where there was a ton of little fish, and it was a lot of fun. So we're going to get into that tonight. We're going to talk about some BFS stuff, some real light line, light rod stuff that's kind of taken over the country. I think you're going to hear a lot about it in 2024. All the companies are releasing BFS tackle. When we went to ICAST, it was like a BFS show. I mean, every manufacturer highlighted BFS crankbaits and lures and everything. So, and I got to say, it was a lot of fun to take that light stuff out there and catch those 12 and 13-inch fish. I mean, they absolutely ripped your arm off. And it was no different than fighting a 4-pounder on a medium heavy 7.2. It was no different. I mean, they're pulling like crazy.
And it's interesting.
Oh, it was different.
It's different.
It was a 12-inch fish.
Yeah, I don't really care, man. It was tugging.
But was interesting.
How about it? Who likes just to get their line stretched is what I'm trying to say, and that's exactly what was going on.
But the interesting thing that you're saying there is most of us, and I know, George, you're big on the spark shad with the Okashira head.
Oh, it can be, yeah.
But we know the size of it. It's not very big.
It's not.
And you're saying that was
honestly, if I felt like if I did a whip cast with it, I felt like I was going to snap the whole entire tip of the rod off. Right.
Well,
so it was more of a lob cast with it. And that was an 1/8 ounce head with that plastic on there. So the whole thing was like 1/4 ounce. You know what I mean? With that plastic on there, you had about a 1/4 ounce of weight. And you had to cast a little bit, a solid tip, right, George? Those solid tips that we're going to talk about had a solid tip on it, and it was really a cool rod. And the thing was, when it's put together, you never know it was a 4-piece rod, and you never know it was a 5-piece rod. And over in Japan, those rods are probably more popular than 1-piece rods. They're transfer.
Well, when your apartment is the size of a average closet, and you're paying $2,500 a month for. I mean, I keep my mop bucket in a closet bigger than most apartments in Japan. So I mean, you're gonna have a 5-piece rod.
What's really weird about that? When I was over there in Japan, George isn't far off, man. It was like the cars were the size of this showcase right here, this little bitty showcase, and the houses were basically oversized closets. I mean, it was unreal. But that's the point. It was so they spent a lot of technology. They're spending a lot of technology on these 4- and 5-piece rods, and over there BFS is huge.
I think the really general trend in fishing, bass fishing, in the last several years has been lighter. When we go up north and we smallmouth fish, a lot of people who are learning those waters are downsizing to just little bitty baits, and the hook sizes, have gone down. When I first started fishing up north, the Thousand Islands and Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, I used a number 1 or a 1/0 drop shot hook. I probably used a 1/0 more than anything. Now, with fishing pressure being what it is, and the water clarity having, gone to a whole nother level of clarity in the last 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
A number 1 hook is huge. In a lot of cases, like on a bait like this, a lot of experienced fishermen are fishing number 4s. A number 4 hook.
That is a bitty hook, man. That is just a tiny little hook. In
general, everything in bass fishing in a lot of cases has been going smaller and lighter. So, the latest fad BFS, it's really, it's due. It's just where a lot of people are going with their fishing. A lot of people are going lighter, smaller. So it kind of transitions real nice for that. And it's kind of easy to accept it.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, John Warwick's in the house. How you doing, John? Good to see you, buddy. Hope everything's going well with you. I know you're battling that monster that you have going on with you, and we're all praying for you, buddy. And your strength is so refreshing, and your strength is so inspiring to so many people. We're all behind you, bro, 100%. So really glad to see you fighting that thing, and really glad you chimed in tonight. So that's good. I hope to see you soon. I know you're going to stop in as soon as you're able to. Good to see you, buddy. Also, Kevin Geezy's here. Kevin, how you doing, buddy? I hope all's going well with you. Jeff Reed's here, stopping in the house. So thank you guys so much for all you guys just tuning in right now. This is Tackle Shop Live, and my name is Mike Acord. This is George Acord, and behind the camera is cameraman Nick. And if you guys can take your time and like and share and comment on all the platforms that we're on tonight and share that with your buddies, we would greatly appreciate it. It would help us out a lot. I know you guys do that well for us all the time, and we appreciate you so much. All right, we're going to get this show going. We're going to do a little section that we like to call Tackle Talk. Right on. So every show we get into a section that we're well known for, and that's fishing tackle. And we love talking tackle, and we love selling tackle, and we love playing with tackle. And tonight, no different. George, what do we got on the block tonight for some new stuff you want to show these guys?
Well, you know, we're bringing a ton of new product into the shop here daily. Obviously, we're not gonna go over everything at once, but
Yeah.
you know, we picked a few things out, a few juicy tidbits that we have added to the inventory over the last few weeks. Pretty sure everything on here is pretty much fresh off the boat. So let's start off with something that's pretty exciting. And this is not going to be light or BFS related. Let's start off with a new swim bait rod that's making quite the chatter in the swim bait world. It's a Spro collaboration with KGB Swim Baits, and it's the KGB Swim Baits rod. Now, this bad boy is 7.9 heavy. And we have a 1.5 to 3 ounce rating. So this is going to cover your not your real big giant glide baits, but this is going to cover that range that most people like to throw. You know, that kind of average glide bait, you know, mag draft, 6-8 inch mag draft, so on, et cetera, and it's light.
It is.
Go ahead, Mike.
I think it definitely is. I think it's a rod that most of us could buy one of those and cover 95% of what we want to throw. And it's a KGB rod, so the Spro swim bait, whenever the Chad, whenever they come back into stock, that's what it was kind of designed for, that size bait. And it's kind of a one rod does it all for a lot of us guys.
One rod does most.
Yeah.
It's light. One thing that I find interesting with it is it's made in the USA.
That's what's cool. That is definitely cool about that. You don't see that too often anymore.
That's pretty interesting.
Yep.
It's an attractive rod. It's got a nice set of guides on it. Price point $279.99. You know, it's a little pricey, but it's not horrible. Put yourself on like a 300 Corrado or a
Tranks,
300 Tranks or a 300
Lexa.
Tatula.
Tatula.
I don't like that Lexa.
No, Tatula. That's
yeah,
what
I don't like the Lexa.
Yeah, I don't like the Lexa either.
It's like winding in a big old boat winch.
Yeah.
But that Tatula is sweet.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm throwing.
And loaded up with some 20 or 25. And I like the Fluoro 25 myself.
Yeah,
A
absolutely.
lot of people throw 20. And, get after it. Get yourself a nice little swim bait set up. So they're pretty cool. We're excited to have those in stock. We sold a few of them, and the early reports are positive.
Yeah, Jeff Reed, you could throw a 301 Tranks if you're backwards.
Yeah. 300 Tranks on there. Perfect.
Yeah. He's just backwards, right, George?
Well, everybody has challenges. I mean,
just joking with ya.
while we're on the rod theme, I got some cool rods in from Shimano. I mean, they're one of the first companies to get their new iCast rods out.
Yeah, they ship very quickly.
Yeah. So I got a couple really cool ones here. Getting back on this light theme, where we were going with the lighter baits, the lighter lines, finesse, if you will. This rod comes in a medium and a medium heavy power. It's an X Pride. And you'll notice when you're looking through your X Pride numbers, you're going to see, You know, like this model number is E as in Edward, X as in X-ray, S as in Sam, 610, MH for medium heavy, S as in Sam, and then B. Well, that S stands for solid tip. So up top here, from the tip back to the third guide, is a solid carbon tip. Okay, extra fast, very unique rod. You see Daiwa do this, and for all I know, they pioneered it. But you see them do it with the BLX, the Steez. I think they even have one in the new Tatula Elite.
Yeah.
They do it on their lighter powers. Now, here's the medium, and you'll look at your number there when you're reading that. Everything will be the same except for M instead of MH, S for solid tip. The B on the end is the generation. So this is the B generation of rod. But that's what the solid tip does.
Yeah. Extra fast.
On a hinge.
Yep. Extra fast. Loads up your tip with light lures.
Finesse rod.
Yep.
So this is a medium, solid tip, extra fast, you know, drop shot, Ned rig, stuff like we're talking about. Finesse.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very light. Very, very nice. Very nice. Those are $299.99. Okay. Now, also from X Pride, and this thing is ridiculously light. I mean, this is an extremely lightweight rod. This is their BFS rod, their new BFS rod. It's a 6.8 L for light BFS. That's not hard to figure out. And, you know, it's just your typical light power, you know, fast to extra fast taper, somewhere in the middle there. I don't even know what they call it. I call it fast to extra fast. They call it, they don't have it written on here, but it's between extra fast and fast. And it's perfect for all your little tiny BFS baits and your light line, which we're going to talk about later.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another new rod. Very exciting stuff. And then the last two I'm going to show you are, it's kind of like that show on VH1 that's called The Most Expensivest with 2 Chainz, where he eats like a $10,000 hamburger. So this is the most expensivest SFT version. This is the Poison Adrena
Ultima.
It's actually the Poison Ultima.
Yeah, Poison Ultima.
And she is a looker. CI4 real seat. And this crazy, it's got a plastic cover on it to keep it clean, but this crazy carbon monocoque handle. It's got like a little bit of a triangular shape to it, flat on the top. It's, you know, designed to transmit vibration. Yeah, you can't even talk about the tech on this rod without doing it in person. I mean, the guide train is crazy.
SICs.
You know, well, they're SIC rings, but they're titanium frames.
Yeah.
The carbon, you know, is a crazy Toray carbon. You got to just talk to us about it. But these things are super light, and I'm telling you what,
powerful.
These are not like,
yeah.
These are not finesse rods. This is this one here is a.
I think that comes in a medium heavy.
This model here is a 610 medium.
Yeah. And
it's a stout medium.
Yeah.
And then this model here is a
medium heavy.
7 foot medium heavy. And you could frog with this rod.
Yeah.
You could Texas rig and frog and jig fish with this rod. There's a little bit better representation of the handle.
That one's selling out. That one there is what we've been selling the most of is a 7-foot medium heavy.
Well, that's your most popular.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's your most
guys
popular.
are trying to grab that one up real quick because they're going to be really hard to get here very shortly. Sold out a lot of places already.
Yeah, they're an allocated rod, but anyways, we got some of them, and they're a little pricey. They're $879.99.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's a SFT's most expensivest show. So that was cool. The little rod mix that we had tonight was pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All new for the 24 season. Coming in, matter of fact, I'm going to cross a couple things off my list. We'll save till next week. Just to keep things balanced.
Balance.
I'm all about balance.
Love the bounce.
What do you think of those rods, Nick?
Well, I remember when you looked at them at IKISS because George, he likes to go around and he likes to, grade the new products coming out. He takes it really serious. And he picked up that rod and he goes, ooh, wait a minute. And I remember GDP even coming over and going, ooh. So that rod's impressive.
Well, you know what else is impressive is those new models in the X Pride line. I'm a big X Pride guy amongst my collection of multi brands, multi models. But I really like the X Pride. You're in that $259 to $299 price point. I think the 8-foot swim bait rod that I use is an 8-foot extra heavy. I think that's like $309. But I really like that lineup, and the solid tip rods for like finesse fishing really impressed me. That BFS rod.
Well, they nailed the BFS rod. I think they really nailed the action.
It's perfect.
It really is going to be perfect. And if you pair it up, with the right reel, that Aldebaran BFS reel that's coming out,
or the Corrado
BFS. I mean, I got the chance to mess with the BFS Aldebaran. That thing is, it's crazy.
The Corrado BFS uses the exact same braking system.
Yeah, I know, but
as the Aldebaran.
I think the Aldebaran has a different control system on it, though.
It has a different spool.
Yeah,
but the braking systems are basically the same.
Is it really?
They're magnetic.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's great. It's absolutely. They're both absolutely awesome reels, and they're going to be great for that rod.
I don't even know if we have any BFS reels.
We have the Aldebarans.
Oh, here we go.
They're not up on the site yet, but we have the Aldebarans in stock.
Here we go. This is the Corrado BFS. We've gone over these reels before, but what's critical in BFS reels is that you have a shallow spool because you're using very light line.
Tilt that down just a fuzz here, George. Front down. Yeah, they're like that.
You're using let's say
back a little bit.
Let's say you might be using a straight 6 fluorocarbon or even an 8 fluorocarbon, or you might be fishing really light. You might go to a 4-pound test, or you might do a really light braid. So, it's critical that the spool be shallow. You don't want a ton of weight of line on there that's not going to get used. They're shallow spools. They're very fast. They need to be very, very quick startup and very little drag on them because you're casting, little bitty baits that don't weigh a lot, right? Little crankbaits and little jerk baits, and you might be throwing something that's less than 1/8 of an ounce. You might be throwing something that's not much more than a 1/16 of an ounce, and they have a magnetic braking system on them that's very sophisticated. They're the same style, the Corrado and the Aldebaran. The Aldebaran is much more sophisticated in its braking. The magnets are totally different. These are more of a bigger surface on the magnet. The Aldebaran surface is real small, but you have a series of magnets that instead of facing the spool this way, they face the spool this way. And then you can, and I'll tell you what, watch this. If you turn these magnets off, you better be a really good caster. And back off your cast control. I mean, you better be a pretty good caster because that spool is flying. So you need very, very light resistance. You need a small reel. You need a small capacity. You need a lightweight spool. This is a great way to get into it without spending a ton of money. Now, you get up into that Aldebaran BFS reel, you know, you have a much lighter spool. You have
That thing spins forever.
Yeah, you've got it's next level.
It is.
Yep.
And it's light.
George, what is the line capacity with those BFS reels?
What do you want to put on it?
I don't know.
I mean, it's going to vary with what you put on
But
it.
I mean, what would most people? I don't know.
Well, like
the
I
whole
just
lot.
said, you're going to put anywhere from as little as 4-pound fluorocarbon on to as much as 8-pound fluorocarbon. You're going to put as small as like a 5-pound braid, because you're throwing small lures. So when you fish small lures, you fish them on small line. So small line, you know, small diameter, you can get a lot of line on a small spool. So you don't want you don't want 300 yards of line on your spool. There's 200 and, 30 yards of line that's never going to see the light of day that just adds weight to your reel. So that is important. Very important. So we got the rods out of the way here. Now let's get on to some baits. We have got some cool baits for you.
50 yards of 8-pound mono and 15 15-pound braid, you get 45 yards. That's what they put in the book for the BFS in the grotto. It's not a lot. You don't need a lot. But like George said, that was a critical point, which George said. I'm going to commend you on this one. You know, you don't want to add a ton of weight to the spool by adding a bunch of lines. So that's why that spool is shallow. So you can get the amount of yardage that you need to fish, even just for the day. Honestly, you know, if you're worried about it, you know, it's critical to change your line probably, more often on these because, you're cutting off, you're breaking off, whatever happens, you may change daily with it, but you're only putting 50 yards on 8, 60, 70 yards with, 6 and so on. But the weight is the deal. You don't want to add the extra weight so you can generate that spool speed and maintain the spool speed with those really light lures. Yeah,
I mean, the other aspect of this is when you're fishing light tackle, you can only cast so far. I mean, you can only cast so far. If you're that guy that thinks you cast a bait caster 140 yards, give it your best effort and then pace it off. You're going to be far, far, far away from 140 yards. That used to be a really good bet that we used to run back in the day.
Yeah.
We would bet people how far they thought they could cast, and we'd bet like $20, and no one can ever cast as far as they think they can cast.
Yeah.
But the point of this is, for example, that X Pride rod is 6'8" light. This bait is, I don't even know what it weighs.
Good luck with that.
I picked the wrong bait, but very light. This is probably heavy in the world of BFS.
A lot of them are 1/8 and 3/16, quarters at the heaviest.
So, I mean, even if you're the most expert bait cast fisherman around, you're only going to cast that thing so far. And my guess would be your average cast with BFS accurate cast, be it a little crankbait, like a little griffin, or be it a little popper, like a little baby Pop X. They're little baits. You know, go back in the aisle and buy a Rebel P50 Popar. That's a BFS bait.
Yeah.
Rebel didn't know it was a BFS bait.
I don't know if you can throw 55 feet with it.
I don't know if you can throw. You can probably throw.
That's 55 feet from that wall to that wall.
Yeah, you can throw that far.
Not much farther than that, though. You think much farther than that?
A little bit farther than that.
A little bit further?
Yeah.
That's a long cast, though.
Yep.
You look,
Yeah,
if you look how far that is.
If you pick up a gust from the gods and you load good and you catch a gust, you know.
and yeah, you get the perfect load.
You know, you get, you know,
your timing's perfect.
you get that little touch. You know,
Yeah.
you might make that $20 bet.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's the point. You know, this whole BFS thing is, you know, for all you old heads out there that have been fishing for many, many years, it's ultralight. I mean, let's just call it BFS, bait finesse system.
Yeah.
Because ultralight just sounds so trout fishing. And, you know, BFS came from the trout world.
Yeah.
It came from the trout world. Small little jerk baits, catching great big brown trout on light and ultralight tackle. That's bait casting instead of spinning. Right? Let's look at some baits. So from Jackal, they introduced a new frog at iCast, and it's the Kira S2 Beat Frog. You'll notice it has two blades.
Clacking, flashing, clacking. That's what I liked about it.
They're on the same split ring.
Yeah.
And they're facing each other.
So
it's like the cymbals.
Yeah, you're getting clacking and slapping and flashing and all that stuff together with
this
it.
Bad boy's ready for the marching band.
You know what, George? Everybody's worried.
Parade.
Everybody's worried about the size of that bait, but tell them how heavy that thing is.
It's a half ounce.
Yeah, you could chuck that thing, man.
Well, everybody shouldn't be worried about it because this is based on the Kira frog. And the Kira frog's one of the most sought after frogs in the frogging biz.
Yeah.
Because it's small.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got a nice set of hooks on it.
You can throw it on your frog rod. It's a half ounce, so it's no problem to throw. That guys are worried about throwing it on that. No problem at all.
Yeah, it's
a half. I know it.
I think it might even be more.
No, it says half on
2 1/4 inch, half ounce.
Yeah.
But the Kira frog without the blades, just a regular Kira frog.
Yeah.
Highly sought after frog. And of course, we got some cool colors. You know, we have this one here with the yellow head.
We call that the yellowhead.
Call that yellowhead. It's actually called black frog because it has a black belly. Gold blades. Pink glitter. Has a purple back. Pink glitter belly. Strong orange berry beat. We're going to take this one out of the pack because anything that's called strong orange berry beat, we need to closely examine.
Hey, Mark, no, that's definitely not a Whopper Plopper trailer. It's an inside joke for guys that don't come to Bass Fest, that missed Bass Fest this year.
Look at that bad boy. Bluegill belly. This one's called, wait a minute. This is called strong orange berry beat.
So the orange is the blade, berry beat.
Look at that. It's a bluegill.
Beautiful.
Freaking awesome, dude.
Beautiful.
Okay. Look at this bad boy. Appeal chartreuse beat. No explanation needed. Chartreuse all the ways around, too. And there's a couple more colors. There's some more traditional colors, obviously. But that is the Kira Beat S2 Beat Frog. And the blades they kind of grind together as it's coming through the water. We saw a little video on it, and they don't really flop a whole lot. They kind of make a noticeable noise. So you froggers out there,
yeah,
you better get you some of them because that's where it's at.
Absolutely.
and that is a new release from Jackal.
Excited about that thing.
$14.99. Okay, tad bit more expensive than the original Kira, which I believe is at $12.99. So reasonable though. And then we have a whole bunch. Mega Bass did a BFS series of baits that was their big iCast thing this year. Was a series of BFS baits that will be available in the future on a steady basis. Right now, they're available on a limited basis. There's now in each one of these baits, there's 12 to 14 colors. So we have a pretty big selection here because we carry them
selection.
all. So you have your X80 Junior. Okay.
Get a good look at that, Nick.
That's your X80 Junior.
A little bit. The X80 series is a little fatter in the midsection. Gives you nice shoulders on it, more of a roundish profile in the middle.
This is your X70.
The X70 is your traditional, slender body jerk bait.
That's my favorite color.
Yeah, a little bit more slender. Has a totally different action to it.
That's my second favorite color.
Yeah, Wagasage.
We got a good view on him. This is fun, guys.
Yeah. Love this stuff. Look at this thing.
I feel like I'm working for QVC or the Home Shopping Network.
Well, guys want to see the stuff that was introduced, from the iCast, and we're getting it in slowly but surely.
Well, if you don't want to see what's introduced from iCast, tune out for the first 30 minutes of every show.
Yeah.
Look, Griffin Bait Finesse MRX. So you have a little bitty, oh boy, 3/16 of an ounce. Dives to 2.2 meters. So 6-7 foot. That little sucker gets down.
Yeah.
Awesome colors.
Yeah.
Awesome colors. Now, one of the things about BFS that I want to kind of help you guys relate to this. First of all, forget about the word BFS, the term BFS, which stands for Bait Finesse System, and just think of small light tackle. Okay, and then we dressed it up and we called it BFS, right? So, I've been fishing a lot lately, and a lot of the waters I've been going to, the bait is plentiful as I've seen in a long time, and it's tiny. There's been multiple shad spawns on the waters that I'm fishing. I've got 2 to 3 different size classes of gizzard shad down to what I like to call rain bait. The other areas I've been fishing that do not have shad have had really plentiful variety of minnow spawns. There's small fry from the late bass spawns. It's everywhere. It's just you reel a bait in and it's raining. Well, a lot of these fish are feeding on those small bait. You also have a tremendous amount of insect action right now. You've got, in a lot of parts of the country, you've got locusts, cicadas.
Mayfly.
You got mayfly hatches. You've got, this stuff really is relevant right now, and it really comes into play. And when we look at these baits, think in that term,
match to hatch.
I'm fairly reluctant to downscale. Because I'm just so addicted to power fishing. Well, this is power fishing, but this is power fishing with a small hammer instead of the big Thor hammer.
Yeah.
I remember telling all you guys out there about my greatest day ever on Lake Ontario one of my greatest days ever on Lake Ontario last year, and fishing with a good friend of mine. And we went up in a little shallow bay. We were talking to Mike on the phone, and he suggested we go check some shallow water, and there was some shallow water right next to us. And we had to downsize to a little hair jig and a little spark shed on a little Akashira head, and we just absolutely train wrecked hogs. And, to me, there's a muskie guide on the Potomac River And he has a saying about when guys accidentally catch muskies in the winter on like blade baits or something, you're elephant hunting with a peanut. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. You're elephant hunting with a peanut. Well, a lot of us, myself included, get stuck on this, little bait, little fish. Then that's just not true. I've been relearning a lot of my bassin lessons. And a lot of it is fishing with friends of mine who are really good fishermen who are, on this program. So that's one of the things we wanted to impress by showing you these little baits. Look at this. This is that Griffin in what they call an SRX, a shallow runner. Now, this is 3/16 of an ounce, okay? So you're looking at a bait that runs 1.2 meters deep. So what is that, like 4 feet deep? Not bad, huh? Look at this bad boy. You get on a little mayfly hatch, or you get on a little one of them tiny little bait, fry areas. This is the baby Pop X BFS.
That's an awesome little bait.
That's a bad color for us to be showing you because it's in a dark package.
Turn it back this way. Yeah, there you go.
So let's see if we can figure out the specs on this one. So we got 3/16 of an ounce, 50 millimeters.
So P50?
Yeah.
Like a P50?
Or smaller.
A little bit smaller than that, maybe?
And then the one I'm most excited about on the top water side of things is the Dog X Junior Koyo, which is how I'm going to say that, BFS. Okay? Look at that bad boy. That color is called White Python, and that is a 1/5 of an ounce. 71 millimeters. So it's a tiny bit bigger than this little 70. So that's your Mega Bass lineup of BFS baits.
Nice.
There's also some rare, like this is a little kind of a rare, kind of a Japan only bait that we got our hands on a few, called a Karashi. It's a little subsurface, little walk the dog bait, which I would consider BFS. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that, Sean Bowman. Love that 3/8 rooster tail. We throw them even smaller than that, down to quarters. Rooster tails when the white fly hatch is happening, or that little fry hatch is going on. We throw them a lot on for our smallies around here. Awesome.
Nick, what's your favorite small bait, and how do you implement it? I know you get around fishing.
I mean, my favorite small bait, I mean, Mike, you guys already hit on it. I like the spark shad, but it's really not as small as what we're looking at.
Right.
And this is going to be something new for me to get into. I love that little jerk bait. I'm not sure what the name of it was.
That's an X70.
I mean, that thing's awesome. You're going to catch fish wherever you go with that.
Yeah,
thing.
no doubt.
And I think you should fish this bait on 6-pound test line.
Yeah.
Yeah. No
for
doubt.
maximum results.
Yep.
6-pound test fluorocarbon.
But the other bait that I think's awesome that you just showed was that, I think it was called the Baby Dog X.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that color right there.
Yeah.
Everything about that thing's awesome.
White Python.
Yeah.
There's a full range of colors in these things, like 12 colors of each. You can check them out on our website.
George, with that little Baby Dog X that you just showed, what line are you throwing with that?
Braid all day long. I'm going to throw this on a 15-pound braid. Straight up all day long braid. You could also throw this on a mono, okay? This would fish very nice on a mono, like an 8 mono.
Yeah, we're gonna get into a lot of this stuff on our BFS segment because let's face it, it's all new to us.
We're sort of blending our segments together, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's all new to us, so we're all in a learning curve, and I think that comes pretty much to everybody except for if you did a lot of stream fishing or
yeah, I mean, my point,
wade fishing and stuff like that.
My point is that it's kind of new in terminology, but
Yeah,
you know,
no,
you and I grew up.
yeah,
fishing.
I know that, but I never did it with bait casters. And
No,
that's where
no.
that's where the newness comes. You know, the bait casting aspect of it.
I think a lot of people grew up walking a creek.
Yeah, rooster tails and spinners and
a little
small
bitty,
poppers,
rebel crawdad,
and a hunchback, little
you know,
hunchback,
which
minnow.
those are you know, it's hard to find a little crankbait like that. You know.
Yeah.
I saw when I was at ICAST. I want to say it's going to be like December till we see them, but Bill Lewis developed a little crankbait called the Nat, which has a weight transfer system in it, which is about the size of this little.
Yeah, who is that? Strike King?
Bill Lewis.
Oh, Bill Lewis. Yeah,
they have, and it's about like that, and it's made for BFS,
yeah,
light tackle. So there's a push going on towards this type of fishing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think this time of the year is a prime time to talk about this. We're tied into the right season.
This is it right now.
We're tied into the right season.
Yeah. I mean,
and it's interesting.
It is it's I think it's going to be exciting. Like I said, earlier when we had this, when I was talking about going out with those Japanese rod designer guys.
Hey, Nick, number 3.
I like your style.
Yeah, well, those guys epitomized it.
They, and honestly, if I wouldn't have picked that rod up and thrown it, I wouldn't have been so excited about this light tackle fishing, but I had so much fun with that setup, honestly. And it was a spinning setup, by the way. They didn't really have the bait casting setups with them. They were testing these spinning rods in a 4-piece and a 5-piece to see which way they wanted to go with them. But it was just fun. It was just really fun to throw them. It was fun to hook the fish and land the fish and all. I mean, you weren't boat flipping these things.
No,
you weren't boat flipping a 12-inch, 13-inch fish. You weren't doing it.
That's not a terminology that is in the BFS repertoire.
Exactly. So it was, it was very, very exciting. And then I kind of, in my mind, I'm going, man, with the little bait caster, how fun would that have been? With throwing these little baits around and then where this is going. I don't even think it's necessarily catching small fish with it, but it's the fact that, there's the equipment is there now. To be able to throw some of this stuff in the way that you want to throw it.
Well, and the other aspect of it is these reels have drag washers in them that are designed for very light line. So that you can land, because I'm here to tell you, I've seen some of these guys that are BFS fishing for trout. And I've seen their pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Our old friend Kenichi has adopted that lifestyle.
Yep.
And he is catching 36-inch brown trout.
Yeah.
On, micro BFS tackle, bait casting BFS tackle. So,
yeah, he's been doing it for a while.
And there's others.
Yeah.
And there's guys catching very big bass on them. So,
yeah.
And
I'm not saying that's what I don't want to come across saying this is a small fish type of thing.
It's not,
because, you're matching the hatch. So honestly, you have every cast can be that 4-pound smallmouth or that 4-pound largemouth. Every cast could be that, it's just that in the meantime, everything else eats it like crazy. You're going to get a ton of bites if you get into those types of areas. If you know where the big boys live and you're targeting big fish, then you're going to catch some bigger fish. You're going to target those bigger fish. It's fishing, but it's a lot of fun.
And
man.
You're going to have fun. And that's the main thing.
It's a lot of fun.
Are those BFS reels coming in all the usual gear ratios as well?
No, they generally come in one gear ratio, which is in the 6 to 7 range, depending on the reel. This is an 8. Because the spool is smaller. in diameter, a standard crank takes in less line per crank. So to get that normal retrieve, you have to go to a higher gear ratio. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
particular
that's interesting. That's a good question.
this particular gear ratio is 8.2, but I'd have to look up the specs to see how many inches per crank it is. But it's done because of the smallness of the spool, right? The line's on there in a large diameter, but it's overall a smaller spool. So like a normal Corrado in an 8 range is taking in like 39 to 40 inches per crank.
Yeah.
I can't really tell you what this one is because I don't have the specs memorized. I'd have to look it up.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have to guess it's probably 34, 35 max. And I'll look that up. I'll look that up and make a note in my book to bring that up next week on the show. We'll revisit that. Now, speaking of Megabass, matter of fact,
what's up, Frank?
Grab me that Shimano book there, Mike. It might have that spec in there.
Yeah. What's up, Frank? How you doing? Tammy, glad you can join us. Tammy, glad to see you stopped in. I appreciate you. I hope everything's going well for you up there. Hope you're whacking them on Cayuga. Yeah. How you doing? Kirk's here. Don Swaggart's here. Matthew Weimer's is stopping in. Yeah. How you doing, Matthew? Never miss a show. Awesome to see you.
We're in business, Nick.
Dan Swaggart, how are you
32
doing?
inches. So
that's your point right there.
32 inches. And if you take a regular Corrado 200,
Other way.
in the 8 range, 36 inches. So it's, 4 inches less than that in, the same gear ratio. So that's good you asked that.
Eric Weimer's asking if 10-pound test line is considered BFS.
No, not even close. That's considered like
power fishing,
regular fishing.
So you're dealing with, BFS, you're dealing with, like George said, 4, 6, 8 pounds.
Eight's heavy.
Eight's heavy. And you're dealing with like your micro braids, your 5 pounds, your 8-pound braids, not much bigger than that. So it's kind of weird, but hey, Richie Hall, how are you, buddy? Thanks for stopping in, man. Thanks everybody for stopping tonight. We appreciate you. We are on every Thursday night at 7 p.m. here at the shop at the headquarters at Susquehanna Fish and Tackle. Most of the stuff that we talk about on these shows is available online at sfttackle.com, or some of the stuff you might have to call in, but you can call our 800 number anytime you want. Ask us questions, ask about the lures that you saw, and after checking our website. But most of the stuff tonight we talked about is all on our website. You can order it up, or at least look at the pictures and really see the colors and stuff. Really cool.
Yeah, and if you like what we're doing, throw us some likes, some share us out there, comment, let us know what's going on, and we appreciate that.
Absolutely. But every week, George, every week we see these guys coming on here, same guys all the time coming on here, and a lot of familiar faces, and some new, and a very, very big amount of new faces. Plus, there's not a lot of guys that want to comment, so they stay off in the back end. We appreciate all you guys very much, and we just want you to know that we do this because we love it, number one, and we love talking tackle, we love talking fishing, and we're always going to do this. So we're really happy and pleased to have you guys with you. But and then if you every week I ask you guys, if there's a topic or something you want to hear us talk about or get some information on, please let us know in a comment. You can email us at info@sfttackle.com, and we will absolutely take your topic and go to work with it and come up with a great show for you. Speaking of that, August the 17th, we have our good buddy Oh my God, I forget his name. Kurt Dove, good buddy, and I can't even remember his name. I had a brain fart there. But Kurt Dove's going to be stopping in August the 17th, and that's going to be a great show with him. Not only are we going to talk about tackle, Hayabusa, reins, and stuff like that, but we're also going to pick his brain on fishing. You know, he's a longtime tournament fisherman, fished the Elite Series tour for a while, but just, you know, fishes down in Texas and guides down in Texas. And, you know, we're going to talk fishing with him. So that'll be fun to have that. That's in the books for August the 17th show.
Yeah, can't wait. Let's get back to this show. What do you think?
Funny way of putting it.
Oh, I thought it was a nice segue.
Yeah.
Apparently you didn't approve, but that's all right.
I don't like it.
Play it. Okay. I got some more new product to go over. I know we're an hour into it, but I'd like to finish this up. The new Megabass Respect Series color is out, and it is called GPIU. See that, Nick? And that's available in a whole bunch of baits. You know, the 110, Pop X, Pop Max, Dog X. Even got some in the over Rev crank.
You said you fished that this weekend.
I love this crankbait.
How good was it?
Well, I didn't catch anything big on it, but
No, I mean, what do you see that's really cool about that?
I mean, I could fish it like a baby 1-, and I can fish it like a wake bait, all in one bait.
I was excited about that thing.
I like it. Yeah, I like it. Okay, that's all I got for you. Finally, huh? Boy, that was long.
That's all good stuff. All good stuff. But, you know, while we're talking about this, we'll just keep rolling right into our BFS segment, because I think we're like right in the thick of it. You know, we don't have a lot more to add to it, but we do want to talk about, you know, what exactly it is and how you can additionally use this equipment for your fishing. So I don't know if we kind of want to finish this up right now, George, like you said, you know, kind of rolled into it. We can finish up the BFS aspect of it.
Yeah, we kind of covered everything we need to cover, you know, from the tackle to the line, the baits. But I think the biggest concept that we did not touch on, why would you fish a BFS setup and not a spinning rod? It's the same reason that you don't throw your grown-up crankbaits on a spinning rod. It's the same reason that you don't throw your full-bodied cast and retrieve baits on a spinning rod. You don't get that same control and feel of what the bait is doing as you will on a casting rod. There's very few exceptions in the crankbait / cast and retrieve bait world where you're going to actually choose a spinning rod. One is if the bait is so light and it's really windy, you know, and we'll use the most recognized example is the little number 5 Shad Rap that's not been modified on a blustery day. You know, unless you have a setup to handle that, that's traditionally been accepted as a spinning rod setup. The other reason that you would choose a spinning rod on cast and retrieve type baits is because you either don't know how to use a bait caster or refuse to learn how to use a bait caster. Because that rotating bail is disrupting your feel, the subtle different feels of, you know, a blade of grass that you hit, or the change of a hardness of the bottom, or, you know, that push of water when a fish swipes at your bait and you know to pause it and then crank it again. Those are getting lost in translation, which is why BFS, with the specialty bait casting reel and the lighter powered rods that will throw them, are so important to me. Now, the other aspect, what about the baits that you typically would fish on a light spinning setup? Drop shot. Not a drop shot's not even a good example. A micro jig.
Mm-hmm.
A little micro jig, a little, like a little 1/8 ounce micro jig, or a tiny little TRD type setup, like a little 20th ounce TRD setup.
Yeah.
Most people are going to choose a spinning rod for that. But what if you're that person that likes to choose a casting rod for that? You have an open hook, so you don't need a powerful rod for a hook set. You can sweep into the fish. So
I think
there's multitude of reasons for that.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing with the moving baits is the same reason that you fish their bigger counterparts on casting reel.
I mean, I can totally relate to what you're saying, but BFS to me is a novelty. It's another way of fishing, but you're doing it with a bait casting rod. It's that whole ability, the ability to throw lures, these small lures, on a bait caster. Right now, we don't have bait casters. Up until this point, we didn't have bait casters that would throw these light lures, and you had to throw them on spinning rods. So it's a kind of a novelty part of your fishing. I think that's what it's going to be for most people, is a novelty. Like Nick was saying, hey, I want to do a challenge with everybody. I want with us guys, we're going to go out fishing and we're going to throw nothing but BFS stuff. So it's a novelty to do that and to see that and to fish it. Along with the how do you want to say, like George is saying, like the ability to throw these things and catch big fish and match to hatch and all that kind of stuff that goes along with fishing part of it. I think for us, it's going to be, a lot of people are going to say, you know what, I want to try this ultralight stuff. I want to throw this light stuff that I've been throwing on a spinning rod. I just want to be able to throw now, like this, the jigs that we really don't think as BFS. But now you're going to be able to throw it on there. So it's a novelty. It's the light line. It's the challenge of light line with the lures, a challenge of light line with the big fish. It's the drags, the super light drags, and the fighting of the fish, and all that will come together. And I think it's going to really have at least a part in my bag, because I think I'm really liking this type of fishing. I'm really starting to like this type of, action.
My question to you guys, I think it's pretty cool. And I said earlier, we need to challenge ourselves, and the three of us go fishing and just do some live of using BFS.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But my question for you is, like, when the TRD first came out, a lot of us probably go, yeah, okay. The Senko came out. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Until we're proven.
Right.
And for the three of us in particular, and many of us listening and watching, how do we get proven? We get proven a lot in tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see a tournament being won with BFS? Can you see that?
You're seeing some of this crazy stuff happening right now with some of these crazy baits with these Japanese guys that are on the circuit now. The Cube. I mean, you saw that. That was a really super light. I mean, I've got a pack of them, and I tried to fish them, and it's really hard to throw it. You got to have the perfect setup for it. But you see a lot of this stuff kind of filtering into it. And it's funny, because I like the conversations that are happening during the tournaments from the old guys, the seasoned anglers that maybe didn't make the cut, or the guys that are emceeing the show. And you hear these guys talking about this crazy stuff, and how, it's starting to play. And it's like you said, it's the early stages of something. And I think BFS is going to be an early stage of something, whether they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in, a lot, or they use it in, a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot. I think BFS is going to be an early stage of something, whether they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot, or they use it in tournament fishing a lot maybe not, but in certain situations, maybe so. You'll see more of it because it's going to be more readily available and the equipment's more readily available. But I think that's the big thing with me is the equipment's is available now. The stuff is the true BFS stuff is in the United States. It's here. So there's going to be a big wad of guys that are going to be fishing this stuff just for not just for tournaments, but just for the fun part of it and the novelty of it.
Oh, getting to your question, no. So the concept of tournament fishing is your 5 biggest fish. So, we do everything on our power not to use size 6 treble hooks because we're going to, by nature, bend those hooks in a tournament situation. The closest comparison that you can make to this is the northern swing. So right now you have guys doing extremely well drop shotting with a number 4 hook and a tiny little bait. And,
that's smaller than they ever did before.
They're not using.
That's smaller than they ever did before.
They're not using that super light rod. They're using a as heavy a rod as they can. It has a light tip, but it has a lot of backbone. They're not using, 4-pound line as a rule of thumb. They may, if the sun slicks off in the middle of
I know guys that use 4 and 5 pound tests already in tournaments.
Absolutely.
I think you're going to see it one of these days. I think you're going to see.
Well, what I was doing was, going towards what Nick asked, and basically my opinion. And
I don't see it in the.
I don't really see it happening.
I don't see it in the near future
for those reasons.
I don't see it in the near future,
for
but
those reasons. I mean, even if you look at these guys that are catching these really big fish in the most recent tournaments, we just had the Elite at St. Clair. We had some of these crazy finesse guys like Taco Ito and Cujo Fuito, or however you say his name.
Yeah.
And those guys,
I see them getting.
Were not using BFS. They were using crazy little baits on light line, but they were using as big a rod as they could for leverage and to land a 5-pound smallmouth, which is going absolutely freaking crazy. So, in my opinion, Nick, to answer your question, I don't see it becoming very, very common at all in tournaments. I see it very, 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 very specialized situation, maybe part of a day. But for the avid hardcore angler who is not an avid tournament fisherman, or who is a tournament fisherman, but on his days when he's not tournament fishing, the avid bass head, the enthusiast, the guys that are just eat, sleep, and fish like most of the people watching this show, absolutely. I can see all of us getting wrapped up in it because it's who we are. It's what we do. We embrace all techniques, all baits, all manners of bass catching that we do not know anything about until we get comfortable with them. And that's just, it's the lifestyle.
Well said, George.
Yeah.
I don't see it in the near future, but I do foresee down the road as things get tougher and tougher and tougher, and they fish different bodies of water, clear, super ultra clear bodies of water, that some of these guys, especially these Japanese guys, I see them going smaller and smaller and smaller, lighter and lighter and lighter. And I see some of those guys winning tournaments with maybe as heavy as a heaviest line being 6-pound test. Honestly, especially in the northern swing with the amount of pressure that's been coming. May not happen. It's not going to happen in the next 5 years, but I'm telling you, it's coming. It's absolutely coming in some of these bodies of water. This notion of not fishing small stuff, now, but I see it in the future. I absolutely see it in the future. People are already messing with some weird shit right now. You know what I mean? They're messing with a cube that's got hair coming out of it, for God's sakes. I mean, what the hell's next? It's a freaking,
I think that fad passed.
it's a dice. No, they were talking about it the other day on that live.
Well, the real reason why I asked you that question is because you guys are in the know of what's going on overseas, and a lot of this stuff's coming from Japan and things like that. I didn't know if you knew, are they winning tournaments on this kind of thing over there and it's working its way over? You just never know. And it's just interesting.
Yeah, I don't think that's a real good comparison for us because, your typical tournament situation on a lake in Japan is 300 bank fishermen in the bank division.
Yeah.
175 John boats in the boat division. And I'm not sure. They
300 boats in the boat division, bro.
And
they fish in circles.
You're given.
We didn't get there yet.
Your draw is a piece of water. That's where you fish. You can't just go where you want. So yeah, in that circumstance, I can see that, but that has no bearing or relevance on our market, other than the fact that the rigs that they develop come over here, and then we adapt them to our fishery. So the techniques are born in that oven, but we tweak them. Yeah. So I think the biggest thing, that's my biggest takeaway. Once you break down the tackle, once you break down the baits, it's still where to apply the technique, right? Mike said mayfly hatch. Yeah. Wonderful time I've been out on many a mayfly hatch. Largemouth and smallmouth, when you could not catch fish. I've been out on a lot of mayfly hatches when, if you could throw a lure in the water, you would catch a fish. You didn't know what you were going to catch. You might catch a catfish. You might catch a walleye. You might catch a 6-pound largemouth. You might catch a 4-inch smallmouth. But there's a lot of times that I've been on a mayfly hatch that
with the lures that you were throwing,
tough bite.
Yeah.
And I wonder.
Well, you hear about that guy with the 3-inch twister tail. You come back to the boat ramp and we did all right. Well, it's just biting a guy with 3-inch twister tail, white twister tail on a 16th ounce 1.0 jig head, wiped him out. You know what I'm saying? Because he for that particular night, it was the correct size where George and I would throw a Zoom Super Fluke, or we would throw a Don Iovino Splash It, which was a little bigger, or we would throw this or that.
Well,
we couldn't match the hatch properly, and that's not what they were looking for.
But I think the most challenging part of a mayfly hatch is the next day, when the tree limbs are bowed down like this.
Yeah.
And the slicks of mayflies in the water
miles
look like you have to drive over to confirm what they are.
Yeah.
And the problem is you have
the fish are gorged.
Just this ridiculous
what if
amount of food, and these fish have so it's very, very challenging, and this could play an aspect of combating that, and I've seen it from here to the south to the north.
Yeah.
And I got news for you. You might want to learn the mayfly game, because one of the things that's happening in our country is our waters are becoming cleaner. Our government has been, even our state governments, our national government has been focused on, fixing all of our wrongs. So, I don't care where you're from, you're getting a lot more mayflies than you ever saw in your life. If you can remember back, if you live in your town for a long time and you used to have a mayfly hatch here and there, I'll bet you can remember that. But now it's every day, so adapting to something like that, BFS could definitely play. The other and that goes for the bait. I mean, with that better weather and better water conditions, like, you know, where I live right here, some of my reservoirs are on their third spawn of gizzard shad. There's already 3 year classes in the reservoir. And if your fish are eating that latest year class, it looks like rain. I call it rain bait. When you reel your bait through the water, it's like rain. You know, prime example to deal with, you know, you're not catching them, right? So, I mean, it can be a solution to a problem, but, you know, kind of like what Mike was saying, I kind of see it as for the hardcore angler, I want to learn this.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to learn it from a tournament perspective. Yeah. I want to learn it.
Yeah. Well, my takeaway, and I'm not going to say much more on BFS for tonight, but my takeaway is finally we have the equipment and the gear to throw this stuff the way that it's meant to be thrown. The gear is there, the equipment's there, and now the lures and the presentations are coming. You know, we have the line already. We had questionable equipment last year for BFS. We had some decent reels, but we had some questionable rods. But now they really grasp it. They really embraced what BFS is all about. All these manufacturers really embraced it, and it's here. So whether you do it for the novelty of it and the fun of it, or you do it for you know, the fact that you don't like to throw spinning rods, you just want to do everything on a bait casting setup. Whatever the reason is, this equipment is here. It's the proper equipment. It's the proper stuff to use in these situations. And that's my takeaway. Finally have it. You know, we're ready for it now. Now we can go ahead and jump in feet first and take up BFS fishing, which I am going to do. I'm jumping in. Well, I'll probably jump in head first, but that's just the way I roll. But I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna really get into this because I've experienced a little bit of it and I've really had fun with it, and I am definitely gonna do it. I think I'm gonna do mine with the Alder Bear now, BFS. That freaking thing is, folks. That thing is bad to the bone. It's absolutely an unbelievable reel, and that's going to be fun to put on that X Pride BFS rod, and it is going to be a great fun combination. What's your last takeaway on this, George?
That was it.
All right. Well, there you go, guys.
Put that bad boy to bed.
Yeah, I hope you guys, you know, just got our.
But I got more good stuff for you.
Yeah, I know. I hope you guys, you know, got kind of the gist of BFS fishing and, you know, where it's going, where it's coming from, what's down the road, where, you know, what's here now. George and I looked at a bunch of BFS at ICAST. George is, you know, sharpening his pencil right now, and he's going to put in a really nice selection for you guys of BFS fishing equipment.
It's done.
It's all coming.
Done.
It's already here with some of it's already here with the Mega Bass BFS. They were the first ones to kind of get it put out there for you. And there's going to be a lot more. We forgot about, we could show them the Destroyer BFS rod.
There's time.
Yeah. So
another day. We already did it once.
We have a couple of those rods here. We have all the stuff you need, you know, to check out. So that's BFS fishing.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
My challenge still stands.
Yeah. We're going out.
All right.
We got to get the equipment though. See, we're new at it. We got to gather all of our stuff up. You see, it's something you don't do like this weekend. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. You just don't do it this weekend. So we got to come up with a challenge. And I'm going to kick George's ass with BFS too, like I do everything else.
I don't know. George got the clicker over there, so he's in charge.
Yeah, he is.
It's so easy to run your mouth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Bring it, brother. Bring it.
So easy.
Bring it. I kick your ass in the big baits, and I'm going to kick your ass in the BFS baits.
All right.
Whatever. All right. What do you got now? Let's do some tournament talk, George. You ready for some tournament talk?
Yeah, baby.
Tournament talk coming right up. Like it or love it, we love tournament fishing, and we are big fans of the sport. And there's been a lot of watching. George was back there double tasking, back at his desk for the whole week. Last starting on when did that start? Sunday or Saturday or what the
Well, I
hell?
mean, which tournament?
I don't even know. I mean, that's all it's been doing is streaming tournaments in here.
How is that different from any other tournament?
I don't know
season?
how you can sit back there and spend thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars on tackle, you know, and at the same time you're watching this thing. I think I'm gonna have an intervention with you. I think it's I don't know
You're
how
welcome to do my job, dude.
I don't know how accurate you can be watching this tournament stuff
I mean, I'll gladly
and
step away.
spending all this freaking money.
I got no problem.
I don't get it.
Would you like to start tomorrow?
I'm just saying.
George, I
Do I
got
have something to worry about here?
I got a really quick question for you. Earlier in the season, I asked you something. I said, George, how do you think the season's playing out so far? But we're almost at the end now. How do you like it so far? What are you thinking?
I mean, like on the Elite Series, I just feel it's a very typical series, a very typical season. I mean, we've had some rookies win. You know, we had Will Davis Jr., emotional hometown win. You know, you couldn't have scripted a better story. But we kind of get one of those every year. You know, we've got you know, Hackney.
That was great.
Hackney back on the tour. You know, makes the cut last week.
I like seeing that.
You know, and you sort of expect that, you know what I mean? Because he does fish smallmouth well up north.
Mhm.
So I mean, that kind of played out. You sort of thought that's going to happen, but it's exciting, right? So I think, and this is just my opinion, and you know, if I touch a nerve with anybody, I don't mean to. But the Elite Series, in my opinion, is the king daddy. It's the NFL of the bass fishing world. And that's not to cast any shade on any other series. It's not. A lot of it has to do with history. A lot of it has to do with, I mean, if you're going to start a car company 5 years ago and come after Chevy, you probably ought to pack a big lunch. And that's kind of what these other leagues are doing. They, you know, they're
doing good, but
they're doing great.
Yeah,
but
it's great entertainment. It's great.
It's David versus Goliath.
You know, yeah, absolutely.
So that's kind of my take there. Now, so far the Elite Series, drama wise, excitement wise, I mean, you know, this is kind of like our Sports Center segment here. It's got it all. They're doing a very good job. From their talent, you know, the Dave Mercer, the Mark Zona,
Love them guys.
The guys in the studio. That's a big part of the process. You know, you don't sell the steak, you sell the sizzle, right? And those guys have a lot of sizzle, a lot of pop. Davey Height, you know, the whole
Love
team.
Davey Height.
Now,
great analysis.
Bass Pro Tour, you know, and we touched on this, and we're not going back to that, but we touched on, you know, every year with the Bass Pro Tour, there's some sort of a
controversy.
Yeah, there's multiple controversies.
Lots of controversy.
And again, not to cast shade on the Bass Pro Tour. I watch every second of it. I am loving watching Wheeler offshore on, you know, what is basically a giant bay off of Lake Huron. You know, today they talked about how he rigged his boat with two extra high output bilge pumps because he saw the long-term weather. He's got his boat ready to pump water like it's some kind of a commercial vessel because, you know, he is going to win. So what I like watching Bass Pro Tour is not so much comparing that to the Elite Series. I like the tenacity of their top guys. You know, you have Wheeler, you have Ottafo, you have,
Van Dam.
only a handful.
The story on behind Van Dam.
You only have a handful of those top competitors that are taking the check every week. Dustin Cannell, Adrian Avina's in there, Alton Jones Jr. And I like that storyline there. So that's kind of played out the way I thought it was going to play out. The one that really has me excited the most, other than the Elite Series, is the Fat Cat Newton League, the NFPL. And I love what they're doing. It's a $5,200 buy-in to fish for $100,000 in a 70-something boat field. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's Patrick Walters is doing, and I got news for you. There's going to be a bunch more elite guys over there next year.
Yeah.
The other thing, Nick, to sum it up before we jump into a couple quick tournament things here and what we learned, what we can learn. I love what Keith Poche is doing on multiple levels. I love the fact that he's running that little Gator Trail boat.
You want to talk about controversy?
I love the fact that
there's tons of controversy behind him.
I love the fact that everybody raises hell when he
absolutely
skips through the.
I think it's the greatest thing.
The timber and jumps a dam, and they raise hell, but they don't raise hell when he's 25 miles out in the middle of Lake St. Clair.
Yeah,
eating them.
Yep.
So, that's my overall take so far, Nick. And it's been fun. I'm kind of tearing up a little bit. We're coming to the end.
Well, you got the big story. I think Kevin Van Dam's finishing up his last regular tournament. Then he's got what'd you say, George? The big five yet, and then heavy hitters.
He's got the heavy hitters, and he's got Red Crest next year,
and then he's done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you'll see him in a NFPL event here and there. I'm sure you'll see him in a Toyota Series event on St. Clair, or a Bass Open on one of his favorite lakes, because the fire burns strong, and you can't just walk away completely.
I don't think so with him, man. He's a competitive son of a gun, man. He is absolutely competitive.
Now he does have a tremendous amount of filming he's going to be doing. He will be traveling quite a bit, but I got news for you. When it's a fresh off the spawn, post spawn event on Gunnersville, and he's in that neighborhood, he's jumping in that open.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So we just had last week the Elite at the St. Clair, and there's some couple things that we can learn here. Everybody out there in TV land, and I'm learning big time. I'm not like the greatest drop shot fisherman in the world, but I don't suck. I can catch them on a drop shot. And I never started rigging my drop shot like this. Now, this is your typical little minnow style. These things are deadly. Deadly. Me and Mike fish a little tournament circuit on the river here down in Dinkville, USA, and we do a lot of drop shotting. And this little technique right here flat out works. And a couple things I like about it. I'm going to try to rig this up straight and pretty. Nailed it. Look at that. Straight and pretty.
They were using weird hooks too in that rig, George. They were using Nico hooks in it. Is that Nico hook?
Yes, sir. This is one of the most sought after hooks in this technique. It's called an owner cover shot.
Oh yeah. They were using some
Mustad Titan, Titan X.
Yeah.
Everybody. We've done we've done Nico hooks to death. But look at that. Your hook point is now back here, right? Plus your bait lasts a lot longer.
Yeah.
Mike likes to fish the Elastec. He likes to fish the Strike King and the Z-Man stuff. And when he puts it on that hook like that,
yeah,
I mean, he fishes
one bait for like a week.
So that's one thing, Nick. Now, Nick, I know you're a big drop shot guy, Do you rig yours? Have you started threading yours?
Well, let me just tell you something. I started using a hook just like you have on there. But the key to that hook right there is the keeper towards the top of the eye.
Right.
Because the first hooks that ever came out did not have that.
Yeah.
Right.
And your bait would turn and twist and every damn thing else. And you're like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
Well,
And
most of the time when you're fighting one, your bait goes up your line.
Yeah. But that's key right there. It really is. If you take notice, anybody that's showing you that, what George is showing you, look at the hook. They all have the keeper on it.
They call that threading.
Yep.
And I noticed at the St. Clair Elite, second place. No, not second place. Hackney and a couple other guys were threading their baits on. Brandon Lester, he was drop shot in a TRD, but he threaded it on his hook.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I used one bait.
I would say there was probably more guys threading than they were nose hooking.
And another
In the
one of
top
the
10.
guys fished.
In the top
He
10.
didn't fish the baby. He fished the full size.
Yeah.
And threaded it on. So now he had a bigger bait to represent the perch, but he had, 3-0 hook.
Yeah.
He had more bite. So I know you like that.
I love it.
I know you like that.
Yep. One thing I just wanted to add to it real quick, George, is in my opinion, your hookup ratio goes way up doing it that way.
Yeah.
Because some days the nose hook, they'll eat it. We've all been there. It works.
Yeah.
But some days, and I talked about it today on pre-tackle shop, some days you have to go that way because your hookup ratios will go up.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So let's talk about that nose hook for a second.
Plus, you have a lot more gap and you have a lot more hook.
Let's talk about that nose hook for a second, Mike.
Go ahead.
So, for example, the traditional nose hook, and I just happen to have a drop shot rig here at all times. The traditional nose hook.
That's a great hook there, too.
Oh, it's fantastic.
That's a split shot, drop shot hook
Gamakatsu.
from Gamakatsu. And that son of a gun is freaking lethal.
I call it the splinter. That's your traditional nose hook. You basically come in, catch a little bit of plastic so it doesn't tear out, get everything centered up and nose hook. Would you agree with that, Nick? Now, this is what I learned through observation from Kevin Van Dam on video on watching these tournaments. And this is how I nose hook. And the main reason for this is I get a lot more life out of my bait. And when you're at a place like the Thousand Islands for 2 or 3 days, you can go through some bait. Like we were very, very conservative last year. We used every bait until it was completely destroyed. In one day, we used 80 baits. Between drop shot baits and swim baits, we were running out of every. I mean, there was nothing left.
That's perch tear the shit out of them things.
Yeah, they were perch. So that's Nick. That's kind of what I like to do.
Did you ever see what Aaron Martins did?
No.
He would come up from underneath and then bring his hook out the tip and just have his hook sitting inside.
So like this.
Exactly. And he said you got the most true action out of your bait that way.
Plus, you could come through a brush pile pretty good.
Yeah, that was what he liked to do.
I'll report back.
Well, Aaron Martins, man, the greatest finesse, rigor, a lot of the techniques introduced by him. I mean,
True. So Joey Cifuentes, the Cowboy.
Love that guy. I told you I loved that guy before.
Wins number 2. Number 2.
Out in the middle of nowhere, away from the pack.
He went deeper.
Found some cabbage grass and some deep water. And
did you pick up on how he found that?
No.
I'll tell you what. I loved it. He was cruising around. Now he runs Garmin. And he said I was running along at like 45 miles an hour with my 2D shooting through the hull and picked up this grass. like son of a gun.
Yeah.
I got an old Lowrance
Yeah.
that Mike and I have on our Skeeter that is from 2007. It's an X system.
We go running around at 60 miles an hour to find it.
55 mile an hour shooting through the hull, and it'll mark
Marks
like,
all kinds
it'll
of
mark
shit.
like a blade of grass.
It's really uncanny.
And if there's current on it, it's bent over.
It's really uncanny how good that unit is.
And you can trust it.
You can trust it. We second guessed it at the beginning of every year. We second guess it, and then we slow down and go back over it. That son of a bitch is right on.
And that's what the Cowboys said. The Cowboys said I was out there
running around, baby.
Rip roaring around in the great abyss. Found me some cabbage in 18 foot of water. 91 pounds, 0.8 ounces later. The smallest limit he weighed in, guys, in 4 days was 21.1.
I know. Incredible.
He
He didn't catch a lot of fish like those other guys did.
Flatworm and brownback.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he caught 5-pounders every day.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. He didn't catch like the numbers. Like those guys had to be picky. Which, if you listen to what was going on, they were scanning fish, and they got to the point where they wouldn't throw at some fish because they knew they were small.
You lose so much time on a small fish.
Yeah. So they, the guy who ended up in 5th place, the guy we like from Canada,
Cooper Gallant.
Cooper Gallant. He was saying that, I'm trying to be selective to what I throw for. And he said, but it's tricky because sometimes they're facing at you and sometimes they're sideways. And the sideways ones look a lot bigger, and you throw to them, and it's a damn 2-pounder.
Well, and a 3-pounder fights like hell.
Yeah, well, I mean, those 2-pounders were killing those guys.
Yeah.
Guys.
They would take them forever.
Guys. I don't know about you, but I stare at a forward-facing unit from morning until night. I press buttons. I click. One guy tells me to click the son of a bitch up. The next guy tells me to click the son of a bitch down. I click.
Yeah.
I click.
Clicking.
I'm pulling the trolling motor out. I'm
and he's
wrenching.
talking to himself the whole time.
I'm changing
It's
angles.
Scary.
And
I've had some scary moments out in the water. With
I
him with
see
that
all
thing.
kinds of fish. I mean fish.
You don't know what they are.
And I couldn't tell.
You don't know what they are.
When the man tells me that he can tell if they're facing him or they're broadside.
Yeah. That's what he was saying.
Sorry.
That's scary.
That's what he was saying. He said, he said the tricky thing is
I'm about 10,000 hours from graduating.
Yeah. He said tricky thing is sometimes they're facing you, and he said the ones that tricky are the ones that go sideways on you, and that's the ones you think, oh, you're getting a better signal.
I'm just telling you.
And they cook a 2.5
Well,
pounder.
were they showing you live? Did they show you their screen?
No,
at
they
all?
didn't. They didn't.
Gussie.
Okay.
Did Gussie have it?
Gussie had the shared screen.
Did he?
And somebody else had the shared screen too, but they didn't. The camera guys,
They don't get it.
they don't really focus in on it because they're told not to. They're told not to.
Yeah.
I'm sure that camera guy would just. I mean,
Well, no, they're not told not to, but
they're told not to.
No. How do you know that?
Because they get bonuses for hook sets.
That's what I'm
Right.
saying. That they're not told not to focus in on that, but they're not going to focus in on it because if they get their money shot,
they get paid. They get paid.
I was
they
just
get
interested
paid.
if you could see what they were seeing. Like,
yeah,
yes.
They share it on the
pretty
back
cool.
unit.
Yeah, they do, and the camera guys don't want to think with it because they'll miss a shot,
You know, if you
and then they
have
don't get the bonus money.
if you have your console and your bow units
I don't
linked
blame 'em.
together, you can put that screen up on the console,
right.
and the person in the back can see what you're seeing. Unless it's a tournament, then you put your console unit to sleep. Save battery.
That's right.
Yeah,
Save battery. So, the Cowboy #2, drop shot, flatworm, brownback. That's all he did.
freaking guy's
One bait.
awesome.
One rig, one spot,
You know what?
4 days.
That guy there,
5-pounders after 5-pounder,
yeah.
4-pounder after 4-pounder, smallest limit 21.1.
Where's he at in Angler of the Year standings? You know,
I didn't look up.
He's
Angler
top
of the Year.
15, I think.
he is.
Yeah, he's up there.
I mean,
He might be top 10.
yeah. I think he moved up a little bit because that
When
guy.
you win 2 tournaments, you're going to be up there.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Now this week,
I think you'll see him again, Angler of the Year. I mean, you'll see him at the Angler of the Year, maybe multiple, because that guy knows how to fish.
we got Saginaw Bay, which is a big bay off of Lake Huron for the Bass Pro Tour.
Yeah.
And you got a few guys fishing for smallmouth. The wind's blowing a little more every day, and it's changing directions, and they're out in the middle of the damn lake. Now, they put they drew a line across. They said you can't go above that line, but they still have like 430 square miles of water to fish. But guess what? Dakota Ebear, Wheeler, Marty the Party, Marty Robinson, like Dakota and Wheeler side by side talking all day long, and they're shooting camera to his boat in the middle of 430 miles. They all landed on the same fish.
How's that possible?
Greg Vinson is leading it, and he's on the winning fish, hands down. They had drone footage yesterday.
That was awesome.
That was mind-blowing of these big, giant smallmouth in this crystal clear water and him catching them. Awesome stuff. So keep your eyes on.
Yeah, but if the wind blows, those fish probably going to move.
He's got another area.
He does?
For every wind direction.
Well, I was going to say.
Keep your eye on Greg Vinson in the knockout round. In the that'd be tomorrow's Thursday, Friday.
Tomorrow's B.
So Saturday.
Tomorrow's B's final day, and then
keep your eye on Greg Vinson on
Friday?
Saturday.
What's Friday?
Tomorrow's Friday.
Oh, tomorrow's Friday. So B and then Saturday.
Yeah, keep your eye on Greg Vinson on Saturday. He's probably going to win that round or do enough to move in advance.
It's
and
fun
Wheeler,
watching them. It's good footage.
Wheeler is knocking them.
He's rigged for bear. He know where he's going.
That's what Greg Vinson's using right there. That little bitty 3.5 inch flat-sided bait fuel, flat-sided shad from American Bait Works, Net Bait, STH, Set the Hook Bait Company.
Is he rigging that in the front, or is he?
He's drop shotting it. He's nose hooking it.
Nose hooking.
Yep.
It? Okay.
That's a little bait. I don't know how you'd rig that. See, when they get too, you got to realize when they get too small, you can't really, fish the whole thing through. This is a bait you nose hook, or you use a real small hook.
You nose hook it
to rig it hook. But this is a nose hook bait. When they get real small like that, you can't rig it the other way, Nick. At least I wouldn't. But I tell you one thing I would do. I'd rig it flat. This is the way I'd rig it. Then you get that.
That's the way they rig it.
They rig it this way?
It's a flat-sided shad.
See? They don't rig it like this? Maybe I'll rig it this way, Nick.
And it's infused with bait fuel, and then he puts the bait fuel on it.
I love bait fuel.
Double dose.
Nick, I told you about my bait fuel experience.
Oh, you did. You told us all about it.
All about it. That shit's the real deal. All right, George, let's wrap this up.
I got one more thing for you.
Good God.
107.3 decibels.
Oh, 107.
Kimberly Winter.
My watch goes off at 97 decimals.
107.3 decibels. Kimberly Winter.
What's that?
She set the world record for female burp contest.
Yeah. And
I mean, let me tell you, you should pull it up and listen to it, man.
I'm not kidding you. My watch goes off at 97 decimals. I don't have it on right now, but
George, is there any particular kind of food that you have to eat before you get to that kind of decibels?
I don't know what she went with. Probably involved a lot of
carbonated products. Carbonated products.
Yeah, I probably should have had something looked up here.
Yeah, why don't you have it all ready to go, man? That'd be awesome. Like the closing remarks.
107.3 decibels.
Dan Swaggart says he drinks bait fuel for breakfast.
That's hardcore.
Freaking right, bro. That's how good that is.
That's a good one right there.
Is that her?
Yeah.
Is that it? That's 107.3?
Well, it was on the phone.
Oh. It's not so impressive on the telephone, but it was still.
Yeah. So there you go, boys.
Good stuff, George.
Let's get this thing tied up, wrapped up. We got a football game going on here. It's Thursday night. Hall of Fame game.
Are the Jets playing?
Jets are up 3-0.
So George, he said he had a little, tear in his eye about the tournament season coming to an end. But when I see him start talking football, he's all pumped up again.
Let's go.
I can't stand the football craze in here, man. Can't stand it.
Let's go.
These guys are crazy. Next week, another great show coming at you. We're going to try to have a topic picked out a lot earlier so you guys know what's coming. And then don't forget August the 17th with our show coming up with the guys from Hayabusa and Reigns. That's going to be fun, a real fun show. And Nick and George and I are going to try to get out fishing over the next couple of weeks. So look for some lives with us out on the water. Hopefully we'll have BFS stuff by then and be able to throw some of that stuff around for you guys. All right. Appreciate everybody. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you at the next Tackle Shop Live.
Sunny day, right there you took my breath away. Young and pretty, was it just a dream? The next day you called me up, you told me I'm your little buttercup. You came over and you fell into my arms. Well, I know what I feel. Please tell me your love is real. You make me smile when I think of you. If I am down low and I am blue, I can't get enough. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. Hopeless lover. I woke up all soaked in sweat, with chills running down my neck. I'm going crazy from just the thought of you. A long blonde hair and your beautiful smile. Your sense of humor makes it all worthwhile. Don't make me wait, it's not a funny game. You know just what I feel. Please tell me your love is real.